How's it going, Bit?
How are you?
I'm good. How about yourself, sir?
I'm doing well. So you heard me, but I asked if hold on one sec.
So I think the
I
hero
asked if
hat counts as a
my
third black hat.
there we go. That's what I was trying to say.
Oh,
Yeah, I think it
is that
counts.
really what you're
We'll
trying to
count
say?
it.
That is exactly.
We'll
I
allow
said
it.
it 3 times. I just like kept getting rugged as I was like coming up here, switching over to co-host and all of that. Also, Bit, want to introduce you to Looks Legit. I invited him to come and hang with us on stage. So we'll kind of do intros in a sec. And if everyone in
Right
the
on.
room
Good to meet you.
Cool. And if everyone in the room would do me a favor, in the bottom right-hand corner, that little blue circle with the plus and I don't know what that is, a feather. Go ahead and click on that and just tweet out this room and, just kind of put out the word, see if we can get our world on the spaces tonight. That'd be great. Joso, good to see you. Johnny, Utah. Man, we are just not destined to connect. So hopefully we can jump on a call tomorrow. I know you're on the East Coast, so we can't talk after this, but let's definitely catch up tomorrow. Pop, good to see you. J-Ro, Luther, Kristen, Jesse, Grondin, Nacho, everyone here. What's up, Mike? So, Bit, we haven't really caught up since our launch a week and a half ago.
Yeah, congrats. It looks like it went pretty well.
It went very, very smoothly. So really, really happy about it. The amount of times I've said 11:55 in the past 10 days, I can't even count.
Yeah, I've been there. Well, I'm glad to hear it. I was rooting for you guys. I'm stoked.
Yeah, really appreciate you helping us get there as well. And we did another room last week with Duncan, and we were talking about kind of the approach to minting and mint passes and all of that. So I'm just gonna DM a couple of people, and let's give the room a few minutes. Andy, anything you want to start with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the big question that I have is, do we need to mint the Nomad Boulevard logo and then get Twitter Blue so that we can have a verified PFP? Like, what's etiquette on this nowadays?
I'm on the fence. And I'll tell you why, and you're not going to like it, but I have a little bit of apprehension around connecting my wallet to an outfit like Twitter. I love Twitter, but what are they going to do with that information? And since all my blockchain history is public, that's a lot of power to give to Twitter. And my main concern, it's benign, but are they going to start marketing to me based on how I use the chain? Are they going to analyze my income? I don't know where it stops, but I think it seems like a really small thing to do. But once they have that wallet address, they can connect a lot of dots. So that's sort of why I'm not hexagonical, if that's a word. Just trying to watch and see what happens before I pull that trigger.
That's big brain Bitcoin right there.
Mm.
That's why we love you.
I mean,
well, what if you moved?
Yeah, I don't know.
I was just gonna say, I think I'm a little bit. What if you moved, the NFT that you wanted to, and you moved it to, a wallet in a different MetaMask account? That was the only NFT there. Does that help, or they're still able to kind
That's the
of
way.
know you?
Well, that's the way I would do it for sure. Move the NFT to a burner wallet, basically connect it, and just have that be the only thing in that wallet. Um, you're basically raising your hand and allowing a centralized entity to kind of track everything about you on chain. And they probably will get that eventually anyways, but if you think of, marketing, one of the biggest problems in marketing is finding like a central identifier about a person. That's billions of dollars in a business to create identification around customers and prospects and stuff like that. You just gave them like the ultimate ID, which is your primary wallet if that's the one you hook up. So just for what it's worth, I mean, it's, probably prudent just to think through it before you, hook up your master wallet or anything like that.
But Bit,
I
what
did not
about
think through it.
OpenSea?
Now, after I hear all this, I wish I had.
I have no reason
Well,
to
I
believe
guess,
they're going to use it, poorly, but who knows?
Well, I have reason to believe that they might use it poorly. I mean, think about all of the other big
nice.
companies and how they've used our data, So,
yeah.
But Bit, what about
about
OpenSea
Facebook
and what about, what about all these other pages?
Well, OpenSea doesn't really know much else about you other than your wallet. So I think it's like a fence, right? And on one side, you've got your IRL, or to some degree, like pseudo-anonymous persona on Twitter, Web 2. They know your email address, your phone number. And if you connect it to the new world, Web 3, now they can kind of bridge that gap. So now they, can tie that back to the person, even, who you are specifically via phone number, if that's how you auth with Twitter. Just food for thought, I guess. It's a cool mechanic. I love to see it because, to some degree, credibility. I think when folks show up with an ape and it's a hexagon, it's real. Like I look at Jozo in the chat, like, it's real. So it diminishes some of the fakes, and I think that'll actually cut down on a lot of the spam you see on Twitter, like the non-apes asking ape follow ape and or shilling, because they're displaying an NFT they don't own, trying to draft off that brand or credibility. So I think it'll mitigate that. So there's a lot of benefit there too. I'm not trying to just dog it, but just be cognizant.
Oh, it's an interesting discussion. I mean, I feel like it's one that we could go really deep on, because it is an inevitable thing, right? And so the question is just how do we evolve to deal with that inevitability?
That's the question. I guess we're going to find out, right? I mean, if you can show me the person that can answer that, I want to know what the price of ETH is next week instead.
Oh, don't we all?
Well, I only want to know if it has a 3 in front.
Yeah, I think it will. I'm optimistic. We've seen this show before, been around the block. I always think of like it being a big tree growing out of the ground and everybody's like holding onto a branch and the whales come up and just like shake the trunk and they're just trying to get people to let go. We all know the tree's growing up. For whatever reason people need to sell, and you should, don't feel bad about that. But if you're worried that cryptocurrency is going to go to zero, that's nonsense. I mean, there's just literally no way that's happening. In my estimation, it's not financial advice, obviously. We can unpack that if you want to, but that's how I'm operating in terms of, my the way sort of the decisions I'm making is we're going up from here. I think it's a watershed moment. Everything's going to change, and we're early, and that's good because it's like a new system getting overlaid on top of the old, and it's going to be hard to participate and join in later when you're forced to do it versus now when you can, collect the tokens you need to actually just participate in that new model later on. So that's kind of what I tell the non-crypto folks, the non-techies, just as a hedge bet. If you think inflation is going up and you think, digital money is here to stay, that's a pretty solid bet.
So, I have no idea what this room wants to talk about tonight, what they came to listen to, what they thought they were getting into when they came into the spaces. But I would definitely like you to unpack that a little bit more. And so just so that I'm not, kind of asking you questions in that direction, everyone in the room, if you can just, give me 100, if you want to kind of spend the next like 3 to 5 minutes talking about that a little bit more and having Bit weigh in, just put up 100. And if not, we'll kind of switch. But I would love to know a little bit more about why we should all just kind of hang in there and not freak out about, some of the dips happening.
Yeah, I see a lot of hundreds. I'll just dive in, but I won't pontificate too long.
Okay, I think
But
that's it. I think that's fair.
clearly, there's a lot of points here. Inflation is rising, and that's a confluence of poor monetary policy and also the output of a pandemic that's choked the global supply chain. And so I saw, new vehicle prices are up 15% in a year. December had it 8%, 9% inflation rate. Typically the year we're shooting for below 3 for the year, Um, and the money printer go burr, and we're going to print more of it, a lot more. And I look at like geopolitical strife in Eastern Europe with Russia, Ukraine, and what a war might cost, many probably trillions of dollars if we were to enter something like that. I'm US based, by the way, obviously. Um, and so as a hedge against inflation at worst, my perspective is you should seek out anti-inflationary assets, right? Deflationary assets. And to my knowledge, there's two: real estate and cryptocurrency. And that's it, right? They're not making any more land. There's finite quantities of it, though there's still quite a bit available. And depending on the cryptocurrency, you typically have a deflationary mechanic to it. So Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many others, right? And then good technology eats bad technology. I would challenge anybody to pull out your wallet or your purse right now and count how much cash you have in it right now. And when was the last time you had a bunch of cash in your wallet anyways? You're already using digital currency with your credit card and debit cards. The difference is you've got a middleman like a Visa sitting in between. And all we're really proposing here is you remove the middleman from the equation for cost savings and efficiencies. I love the argument around like Visa's transactions per second. It's like, oh, in order to be a Visa, Ethereum has to have finality of 40,000 transactions a second. It's kind of a misnomer though, because Visa, it takes months for them to finalize a transaction. They approve 40,000 transactions a second, but they're not finalized for months on those, centralized ledgers across the board. So kind of a strange argument when you really unpack it. But to me, I think the biggest point and the biggest driver of my conviction is this is a better technology, right? The idea that I can stand up a business in a DAO model or just leverage the blockchain as a vault, I get all kinds of benefits from that. I get real-time accounting into my business, like no more quarterly reports, no more monthly reconciliation from my accounting team. I can just look on chain and understand the health of my business across the entire gamut, right? Like all my suppliers using my token, how much cash we have on hand, what's our burn, just clicking a button, right? That's not here yet, but there's no technical blocker to achieving it. So I just think it's better business. It's faster. It's programmable. So, no more delayed, monthly fees to do things. It could potentially yield like more of a utilization model. You decrement a wallet from some sliver of a coin for every minute you watch Netflix, some decentralized Netflix. So I think the model is more fair based on like consumption. The more you use, the more you pay, and the less you use, the less you pay. And you sort of budget your time or your consumption around things versus like what a company decided randomly to a lot of degree to charge you for something that you may not be getting all that value of. So there's a lot of cost savings. There's also a lot less waste in that type of utilization model too. So that's all to say, lots of value. And clearly I'd made my bet in this space. I quit my job last year to go all in and do nothing but Solidity programming and just try to have some fun. And definitely have been doing that. And as I uncover more and more every day, it's like just way more clear. So been through the cycles before. I've sweat before. I've been shaken off the tree before a bunch of times. No more. Now I'm playing it, like I'm selling, I'm buying it. I'm trying to catch dips. Like I'm not scared of a falling knife. I'm going to catch it because it's all semantics. Like if you buy a $3,000 Ethereum versus a $2,000 Ethereum today, it will not matter in 9 months. It won't matter. You're talking about a couple extra percentage points gains on something that's probably, in my estimation, I think 5x from here by fall. And again, not financial advice, but it's going to rip.
All right. So what I want to do in 2 minutes is kind of reset the room. I want to do intros of the people that are on stage. I want to kind of let the room know what we're going to be talking about. But I do have one follow-up question you just said.
Sure.
You just said 5 months from now. So this
9
summer.
months.
Oh, sorry,
9
9
months.
months from now.
Yeah.
It's going to rip.
Mm-hmm.
Can you back us into that? Why in your estimation is it 9 months? What are the contributing factors to that?
Couple things. ETH2 merge happening somewhere in the fall or in the summer, so between June, July, hopefully. I think that's the spark that's going to light the keg on fire.
And can you explain what that is? Not just people in the room that might not know what that is, but also to me who needs to know a little bit more about what that is.
Yeah, so ETH moving to proof of stake versus proof of work. And so fees go way, way, way down. And it becomes deflationary, much more so than it is today. So if you look at the Beacon chain, which has been up for a little while now, but that's sort of folks, staking ETH and acting as validators on that side chain. That's the new paradigm, but it's sort of in test mode, and that's what I mean when I say merge. So that's where the actual network is going to go. There's been an insane amount of ETH burn. There's a calculator somewhere, but it's like many tens of thousands of ETH have already been burned just on that net already. So, I'm looking for deflationary assets in general as a place to park my wealth. That's the one, because there'll be less ETH in the world as days progress on. So the ETH that you do hold becomes more valuable just by definition. The second part of that answer is history repeating itself. So I'm not like a chart prognosticator. I don't have a crystal ball, but what I have noticed in the last, call it 8 years or so, these market cycles repeat each other, and it's like total carbon copy. It's like the same exact behavior from the market every single cycle, every time, like without fail. Just bigger numbers, right? But the shapes remain the same in terms of like chart pattern. And so really starting from like March of 20, right when COVID was kicking off, was really the bottom of the bull cycle that we're currently in. And it represents and it reflects every other 9 bull cycles that we've seen in Bitcoin. And if you literally copy and paste the shape of the 2017, 2018 bull, starting at March of 2020, you will see that the last 2 years have followed that line exactly, like really exactly. So this is the year, last 2 years, I've sort of really put my money where my mouth was and traded that line, that chart. So like I called 4,800 ETH top and I cashed out, and I bought in at 2,300, and I had that trade on Coinbase Pro sitting there for like 3 months until it was going to hit. Like I was just waiting for it. So it felt good. And I could always be wrong here. I'm wrong more than I'm right. But the one thing about people is that history doesn't always repeat itself, but it usually rhymes a lot. So you may see some variance, but in general, if the bull cycles continue on as they are, halving cycles and so on, I just think it's just going to keep on doing what it does. As new people enter the market, they are noobs, they get shaken off the tree, and it just sort of a process as people go through the same stuff that we've all gone through. However long you've been in crypto, you probably experienced some or all of that. And as new people enter, they're going to experience the same things and probably very similarly the way that we did in the past.
All right. Well, this is going to be a different kind of space tonight. In in the best kind of way. We've been talking a lot, with the core team for Nomad Boulevard about what we want these spaces to become, and we don't have a specific direction yet. We know that we want to have some regularity in terms of theme and types of guests and partner projects and all of that. So we're gonna start to have kind of a regular rotation, but I think this community, which is really centered around artists and art enthusiasts, collectors, I think are also very interested in forecasting what the space is going to be for everyone. I have conversations with artists during the day that include, are people, is this a bubble that's about to pop, or should we be waiting for Coinbase to launch their NFT marketplace so that we've got this huge wave of new first time NFT buyers? And will it matter that we did really well last year to new buyers, or will they be looking at all artists as an even playing field? How many more people are entering the space? And so I think starting to talk about what the future holds and bringing in people that have a point of view and that have been on this shaken tree a lot over the past year or 2 years. I think that's really going to help people feel comfortable and gain some knowledge on what to expect. So so why don't we do this? Let's set the room tonight. We'll do some intros of the people on stage, and then after we get the conversation going a little bit, we'll definitely pull up some people to be included in the conversation and go from there. So I'll start off. I'm one of the co-founders of Nomad Boulevard. My name's Danny. I've been called a hero many times in my life, and I don't think it's because I've done anything brave. And here on stage with Waterboy, Andy, you want to say hello, and then we'll go to Looks, and then Bitcoinski.
Yeah, hey, Waterboy. I'm part of the Nomad crew, and glad to be here with everybody.
Hey guys, I'm Justin. Looks legit. I am a holder and Nomad, and helping out the team with some spaces moving forward, and just up here to vibe with y'all.
Right on. I'm Bitcoinski. I'm a Web3 dev here in the space, and have been on a few projects in the last few months that hopefully you've heard of. Maybe not all of them, but some of them you probably have.
So also one of them is Nomad Boulevard. Bitcoinski has kind of helped us at different points throughout the last 5.5 months. So definitely we definitely feel very lucky to have Bit as a part of the extended Nomad family. Bit, do you want to just talk about some of the projects that you were heavily involved in, and kind of what you're going to do this year?
Yeah, for sure. It pretty much kicked off with Woodies, and that was the impetus for me to quit my job because I got really excited by that project, and I was excited for a bunch of reasons, but part of it was the runway was short, and I said, "Fuck it, I'm quitting. I'm going after this full time, like all in. Let's go." And took the path was taken. I'm so glad I did. Led me to, working with a close friend of mine I had met months before just as a collector, Mark the Habibi. So we helped Mark get off the ground, J838 for the Entity Spirit Project, Lonely Shadows. We did Hand Jabs. We did Shaka Blood's Hoppers recently. We're currently about to drop Ether Brews tomorrow for Whitelist Thursday Public, which are pretty sick, all 3D interactive for kind of first time in the space that we know of. And then fast follow, we're dropping Dead Fellows, Dead Friends on February 3rd, and Boss Beauties the following Monday. So 4 days between those two. So we're running fast for sure. That's all kind of driven us to make the choice that we want to do more for the space, and we'll still do projects from time to time. But I think after February, we're going to go heads down. We're going to start building a platform, and that platform is called Props. You can follow us on Twitter @Props, and that is going to be a platform gauged towards the creator, not the developer. So all the things that we've learned across these, call it 12 to 13 projects in the last 4 months or so, is going to manifest in tool sets that one does not really need to understand the underpinnings of blockchain, but will put an insane amount of power in the hands of the creator to actually deploy value out to their communities and also manage those communities in interesting ways. We also don't plan to charge for that platform and put it out there for everybody to use in exchange for probably some very small sliver of any royalties that come through contracts that are deployed from it. So we're thinking about, kind of Web3 business strat here. How do we make money? Because we have to survive, obviously. But I think the model's change where we're not going to charge traditional SaaS, subscription fees, $10 a month or whatever. It's, let's lower the barrier to entry to creators to start creating. And if they're successful, then, we're successful too long term. And I think the reason we got to this point was because we've worked with so many great projects. And when you want to do a startup, you always think like, oh, what should I go build? And you go build it and you got to go find people to buy it. And we find ourselves in a really interesting position because we stick on with all these projects after deployment and continue to help. And so we've been learning along the way of like, what do they need? It's not just the drop. It's like, what comes after the drop? Like, what are you going to do after that? And so we've got some perspective now. And so that's what we want to deliver. And I'm really excited by it. The bottleneck is time. So that's why we're kind of shuttering the doors for like a 4 to 6 week sprint starting end of February to see how far we can get, see if we can get to MVP to start testing it out.
So you've said we. Who is we?
We is now a team of 3.5 people. Me and my partner, Calvin Haynes. So any props I get on these projects, I mean, equal or more should go to Calvin. Calvin is a mad scientist, and he's really responsible for all the UX that you have that you feel when you use our minting sites. And is a polymath, he's picking up smart contracts as well. And so we met each other on the Woodies project. We were both in Ultra DAO, and we both joined the DAO for the same reason, which was like, hey, this sounds cool, let's do it. And here's a project, and lo and behold, the two of us are working together, and we just clicked really well. Like, have similar visions for the space and the technology landscape and everything that we're doing. And once Woodies hit and we started getting hit up for other projects, we stayed attached, and it was a grind. It was like 100 days I calculated. So like from September 1 to December 1st or whatever it is. It was like I put 1,700 hours in, give or take. I mean, I was sleeping at my desk literally 7 days a week. My wife had the kids, full support. Like she allowed me to do this. I wouldn't have been able to do it without her. But Calvin was in the same boat. Like, he was grinding too. We're getting more efficient as we go because we're not rebuilding everything from scratch in terms of our learnings and having to research as much as we did before. So we're able to move with higher velocity, but it was a grind. And so through that, we sort of galvanized a friendship and a partnership and a trust for sure. And after the first, we decided to incorporate here in the States and start to bring some folks on. So we brought on a third partner who's actually going to operate as our CEO and do all the minutia about growing a business that I frankly don't care to do. I'm much more keen to focus on the technology and product and vision and sort of steer where we go. And somebody I've worked with for a really long time, more than 10 years, and somebody I trust and who knows that world really, really well. And then the half comes because we're thinking about bringing on a third dev who wants to remain anon at this point until he decides to go all in. But his pedigree is incredible. He runs system scaling for literally the biggest platform in the world right now, one that is very, very important to the fabric of the internet. And he's going to take us to new heights in terms of efficiency, in terms of how we build software and how we deploy it and how we scale. So we're trying to be methodical and go slow, realizing just how fast the space moves. But, I think we have a core nucleus of folks that can wear multiple hats and pitch in a lot of different ways. So I'm excited about the team, that's for sure. And I think we're going to make some magic, hopefully.
Congrats.
Yeah, I have
Thanks.
so many questions for you, Bit, and I mean, I could probably talk to you about this for an hour. I guess my two main questions are, first of all, it sounds incredible what you're doing. So you said it's for creators, and it sounds like the 3.5 that you described are mostly devs. Do you also plan to provide resources from, community managers and mods and Discord setup? I mean, do you want to bring the jobs? Do you want to bring those resources to them from a job perspective as well? The roles they'll need to fill.
Yeah, so we're thinking about that. It's kind of like two levers in our hands. One is an agency and one is a platform. And right now we're operating on full agency mode, zero platform. And I think through the year you'll start to see us like pull the one lever down and the other lever up. Hopefully the goal is to achieve like a 50-50 split, because there's always going to be unique challenges that a productized platform isn't going to be suited for. We're going to have to think outside the box and do custom code and stuff. But on the agency side, we've been talking with some mods that we've known for a long time across multiple communities that a lot of you are a part of, looking at your PFPs. And we think there's kind of a play on both of those levers, one from an agency side around strategy and thought leadership, and then also potentially having a pool of community managers that you can bring into your community to help either guide or actually participate. And then the other side of the thing is productizing a lot of the work that we've done from the tech side around that too. And some of those, capability sets today we do often, but it's very manual. I'm talking about like scraping Discord for information. So we sort of cracked that nut. Now we think, hey, that would be an awesome capability to have to, you know, alert you when people have negative sentiment in a community channel, or if they use certain keywords, or if they drop an address in a whitelist channel, scrape it and put it into a Merkle tree for your contract to use as its whitelist on the fly, like things like that. And there's progressions to that, and there's a large spectrum, but that's kind of what we're thinking on both sides of the house, like help build the community, help manage it from strategy or resourcing, and then what kind of technology and capabilities can we apply to make that world easier and more efficient and just better for the actual members of the community themselves.
Yeah, sounds really great. Well, I'd love to chat with you offline about this, because this is
Yeah,
somebody I want to introduce you to, who's really focusing on Web3 jobs and building a whole, network around that, and basically trying to build like one of the first Upworks or Indeeds for Web3 specific. So I'd love to
brilliant.
connect you guys and see if there's something there, because I think they could
Yeah,
be a
let's do it.
great resource for that. And then last question, and again, I get asked a lot, but the other question I had is, at what point, how soon do you think you'll be ready to start having projects approach you and considering them for kind of that beta MVP approach?
The goal would be June. I mean, Calvin and I had a good discussion the other night, and because we're running so fast, like we have to hit the brakes here so we can focus. And we came to the conclusion, like, if we're not sitting there June 1st with a platform in an MVP state, like, that's a loss for us, and it'll be a psychological heartbreak too, because that's really where our heart is right now, is taking the learnings and manifesting them really before they perish and they're no longer relevant. I mean, like, we all feel that in this space, like whatever happens today is already forgot about tomorrow. Like, you remember that beanie guy? We were talking about him 3 days ago. Like, I haven't heard about him, and I literally forgot what happened. Somebody brought it back up. I was like, oh yeah, I forgot. But that's how it happens on the tech side too, especially in a blue ocean state like we are now. All the things that are really hard to do are going to be they're going to be commoditized rapidly, and that's a good thing. That's a really good thing. When we were probably around Thanksgiving, um, like halfway through that burn, I found myself thinking, like, I hope somebody comes in, a nifty kit, etc., and totally commoditizes what we're doing here, because that means we're making progress as an industry, and we'll move on to the next idea. So, and that's true for the props platform too. Like, it's not going to be something that just lives on forever. There's going to be a lot of operations that pop up and try to replicate or expand or innovate on top of it, and I'm here for that. I think that's awesome. And again, there's no shortage of opportunity. So if that does occur, then we continue to innovate, expand that platform, build new ones. I don't know, but what I've have found is in this space specifically, the problem is usually the solution. So there's no need to really like go to the whiteboard and think like, oh, what can I build here? It's like just build the things that are useful to people to start, and then let them drive you to what to go after next, because they're going to have new needs if you can create a really robust relationship and a trust there. So that's our main goal, is to partner with projects, become friends, be trusted partners, and continue to build alongside of them, because they're going to lead us to the prize collectively. And pontificating a little bit, I think the projects that we've done, these 12 to 13 projects, are probably going to be leaders in the space this year, because they get access to more robust tools than anybody else is, or before they are. And so post drop, if you're looking for projects to get behind in the long term, those are the ones I would look at. Who have access, which projects have access to the technical partners, or have folks internally that can actually deliver the next stage, because the mint and the drop is the easiest part of all this, and it's incredibly hard, don't get me wrong, but like what comes after it, it hasn't been done before usually, so you have to start net new. And so there's not a lot of blueprints to follow, so you have to be able to kind of innovate and execute and solve some hard things along the way. Sort of rambling there, sorry, but stream of consciousness, it's a really cool space to be in, and a really cool problem to have is that people want more of what you can deliver. So I'm very thankful for that. I did see Kid Clay and Bones in here, but I think they dropped off. But that's Slimy Skater and crew. They're building something really cool that we're going to partner on this year as well. But I think they dropped off.
So Hero, where do we go from here? We just figured out that ETH is going to climb, Bit's going to change the world, and then it'll still be the same year. Maybe change topics a little bit. So Bit, we got reveal, we got exchange happening on Friday. What should we be looking for? Like, what is the community going to have the hardest time with? Or, what are the gotchas? You've been through a handful of exchanges now.
Yeah. I mean, I'm stoked you guys went with the Mint Pass model. I feel like that is, first and foremost, just a really solid way to build value for your base out of the gate, because of just all the savings that it provides if done right from the buyer's side. So you bought these Nomad passes, don't feel like there's a rush to engage in a gas war to redeem them, because that's the whole point, is now that you have a pass, you have reserved your spot, reserved your Nomad. When you go to redeem it, set the gas low, set that gas down at 80 or 100 Gwei. If it's at 400, it'll come down. It may take hours, maybe it goes overnight. I like to tell people, like, set your redeem before you go to bed. Set it low. I mean, gas still hits down in like the low 40s overnight occasionally, especially like Sunday night. So, be cognizant of that. Like, the reason you have the pass is that the Nomad team wants you to be able to retain as much of your hard-earned money as you can, and that's really the way. So kudos to you guys. In my experience, you go into like your first few drops and you never know what's going to happen, and a lot of time that drives a lot of anxiety. I come to find out, usually support is all around new folks that are trying to figure it out. They maybe haven't connected to a site to do a direct mint. They've only used OpenSea in the past. I remember when Woodies dropped, it was so exciting, and I was sitting in the Discord until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, as people started to buy passes just to help them out. And, 90% of those cases were people were on the wrong network, or they couldn't access their MetaMask, or they hadn't installed it. So it was a lot of onboarding, which is trivial, not a problem. I was happy to do it, met some friends along the way. So those are things I look out for. Maybe you can even wrap some, I know you guys have been working on that, but some little quick guides, or maybe even just a FAQ in the channel to to help people walk through the steps and things like that. But for the most part, and I've looked at your contracts too, they're solid, so they should work as expected. And it's probably just user error to some degree when folks run into problems, and just be ready to help them out.
Sweet and simple. What about there's a lot of debate on the economics of a mint pass. Maybe you can talk a little bit about, the Woodies, how fast were they burned? Why, I know there's a little bit more mechanics around, the holdout and the raffle for y'all, but maybe that's a bad example for that reason. But, what are the economics? Not just from your projects. Take Punk's comic as another one. Like, what's your philosophy on passes?
Yeah, I think start with one of the challenges is education, helping people understand the dance, for lack of a better description, right? And a lot of the pushback we get is usually because people don't understand that it's going to save them gas. They think, I got to do 2 transactions, so I got twice the gas to pay. But in reality, that's actually not the case. So there is 2 transactions, one to buy the pass and one to redeem it. But when you buy the pass, which is called an ERC 1155, it's a type of token. It's optimized to buy multiple quantities of it. So you can buy 1 pass or you can buy 10 passes, and you're not going to see much of a difference in the gas really at all. Like, it's basically the same gas to buy 1 as it is to buy 10 in one transaction. So that's a gas savings, right? You just bought 10 NFTs, essentially 10 spots to buy NFTs later for the same amount of gas. Now, when you go to redeem, if you take your time and set your gas low, and gas has been nuts for months, but even this week has been especially high. I've seen it hit 1,200 GWE this week, and I've been stuck behind that trying to get stuff out. Let's say gas is trading at 200 GWE, and you have a mint pass. Let's say you have 10 of them, and you're trying to redeem all 10, and you set that gas at 100. Well, now you just saved 100 GWE times 10 to actually get your final NFTs. So we've quantified this on a couple different projects, and our rough, back of the napkin rule of thumb is a mint pass model can really save you upwards between 60 to 90% on your gas, if you're patient on the redemption side of it. Now that gets even better now with a new spec for the 721 token, your end Nomad, the final piece. There's a new spec called 721A, and that spec operates and feels much more like an 1155. So, call it $80 in gas to redeem 1 token, $82 in gas to redeem 2 tokens, $84 in gas to redeem 3. So basically, like, depending on price of gas, call it a couple bucks extra to redeem more passes. So I think we've got this unlock, and you'll probably see this manifest in the Deadfellas contract in a couple weeks, where gas is low to buy the pass, and there'll be multiple quantities bought by a lot of people that hold fellows. And then when they go to redeem, there's going to be very little marginal extra gas to redeem all those passes. So I'm really, really excited by that.
Follow up to that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Waterboy.
I was going to say, what about the economics of burn versus no burn? Meaning, like, is there, market demand for an unburned pass?
For sure. Yeah. We see passes trading on multiples of the floor of the actual token itself usually. I think there's a couple reasons for that. One is it's fun. It's fun to redeem because you're experiencing that reveal in real time, right? We've built some cool UX mechanics with confetti popping or whatever, right? And there's something visceral about that people just really enjoy. Even somebody in the Woodies Discord today said, when we're done, because we have a shot clock up, we're going to close redemptions mid-February and have the rest of the Woodies minted out. Hey, when we're done with that, can we just leave that mechanic on the site so I can go click the button and just have that confetti pop when I want to? I'm like, yeah, we could do that. So that's one reason. The other is a lot of projects. This is just another reason, not the other reason, but a lot of projects will create some game theory mechanics around that pass. Shaka Blood as an example. We did a airdrop yesterday for anybody that hasn't redeemed their pass yet. And so they got like a cool token, the keys to his Prius on Polygon. So that was kind of fun, and we do that pretty often too. Woodies did it for raffles for our core characters. We had 9 core characters in a separate collection, kind of the stars of the universe. And so those were raffled off to people that still held their passes throughout the cycle.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I think, the more and more we talk, the faster we want the art out there. So I think we're going to try to incentivize people burning them all as soon as possible.
Yes.
We'll unveil more of that on Friday.
Yeah. So, Bit, you said, and I read this on your website, and it was actually going to be the question I asked. So they're going to basically expire the end of February or some point in February. Is it a forced redeem, or you just lose your pass, or how does that work? I mean, how do you force people to go and do it, or are you just going to burn them automatically and it's going to be associated with their pass?
Well, we can't burn them automatically, so that's a good call out. They expire, basically the redeem window in the contract closes on that date. So if you don't redeem it before then, you've got a pass. Who knows what the future holds? I mean, if we hit our vision and Woodies becomes a super ubiquitous brand in the entertainment space, like we hope it will, and that we're driving towards, that could be a really cool artifact, like a collectible item. You don't get a Woody from it, but there's very few of them in the world. If you had a ticket to Disneyland from the 1960s or something, you can't go to Disney World with it, but it's still pretty cool. Maybe something like that. That said, we haven't thought too much about unredeemed pass game theory, but we could layer something on there too, and maybe revive that as a mechanic in the future. There's nothing stopping us from necessarily allowing folks who have those passes in the future to do something with them. We can always layer that on later. But for now, kind of like Nomad came to the realization before we did, we want the Woodies out there because we've got some really cool mechanics coming in the next few months that we want to put the power into the Woodies holders' hands. And so to have that experience, you're going to need a Woody. And so we just want to sort of urge people to achieve that state and just be very clear that they're not losing anything by burning that Woody. Our goal is not to apply any more mechanics on the passes, though we may make concessions. I can't promise anything, but that's not the plan.
Hey, so are you comfortable talking about what's coming up?
Yeah, I could talk a little bit for sure. So we've got 3 full-time 3D designers on staff from the DAO that all quit their jobs and do nothing but make incredible 3D assets. And the first wave of those are going to be 3D Woodies that are generated to match the Woody you have. And what's really cool about these is that we've aligned to Decentraland spec on these. For those that don't know, like Decentraland's a metaverse, you can run around it, you can do cool stuff, build stuff. You're probably all familiar with it. But what you may not know is that the wearables that you can put on your avatar have some pretty specific requirements, put it that way. There can only be so many triangles or shape polygons in the object itself. It can only have 2 texture maps, meaning colors and textures on a hat or a shirt. And that's a problem because if you look at like the head of my PFP, I've got a black hat and red hair, and I've got wood skin, and I've got a scarf, and that needs to all be consolidated to 2 images and layered on top. And we've cracked that nut. And it'll be sort of generative in nature, though it won't be random. It'll match the Woody that you have, and you'll be able to wear that in Decentraland. What is really cool, though, is, and this is, I don't know if we've said this publicly yet, but I'll say it anyways. We're building something called the Wood Shop, and in the Wood Shop, the traits that you own on your Woodies you're going to be able to mint out as 3D wearables standalone. So like my black Ultra Dow hat, and you're going to be able to have an allotment of those per specific time period, meaning whatever that is, say 60 days. I could mint 5 Ultra Dow hats, and I could go take them to market and sell them myself to create income as a Woodies holder. And then from there, you know, we're kicking around the idea of like, what if you could change your Woody? You know, maybe not the underlying 721 that's on ETH layer 1, but all this stuff's going to happen out on Polygon. What if you could change the shirt, change the hat, change the hairstyle, and you know, put those things on your avatar in the metaverse and sort of have a style, or be able to curate your own style and use Woody as the sort of base character. So that's something that's really, I think, interesting, and it'll be early because there's a load of technical challenges that we've had to break through in order to get there. And we're still not there in terms of the UX and the actual application to help you do it. But from the 3D side, like, we are really close to starting those airdrops probably within the next 1 or 2 months. The plan is to have those in wallets and people actually wearing the ones that represent their Woody already out there in Decentraland. And it's going to be really cool to see all these Woodies just running around everywhere, which is clearly great for our brand, and, you know, driving awareness to the Woodies project. What else? So back to the metaverse side, we're building out a couple spaces. I saw some renders today of our treehouse. So we bought a plot of land back in like October, right near the Genesis point in Decentraland. So just kind of a few squares away. Kind of thinking forward, you know, if everybody, and this was before Facebook changed their name to Meta, that was really validating around the idea. But if everybody's, you know, going to have goggles on as you go to bed, like, you're not going to have your phone in your hand. Now you're going to have your goggles on. People are going to spend a lot of time in 3D spaces. Where do they start their journey? And if they pick Decentraland, they're going to start right in the middle. And as they walk around, they're going to see a Woodies depot, right? It's just a small, like, 1x1 square. But from there, you can jump out to Woodies World. And Woodies World is going to be this super massive virtual plot of land. Think Disney World in the metaverse. And just a really cool space to have fun, congregate, you know, entertainment. And then we're also thinking commerce there too, the ability for folks to stand up like a little flea market booth in our Woodies World space and sell their art, their NFTs, their wearables, their, you know, whatever, their ENS domains. Like, doesn't really matter as long as it's blockchain asset, and just kind of build from there. So some of these renders are really, really cool, and I'm pretty stoked by those. I think you're gonna like it.
Is so Decentraland, is that the bet, or are you guys looking at other plots? What's your philosophy on metaverse?
I think they're all gonna blur together. So to answer your question, we're looking everywhere. When you go to our Decentraland depot, you will probably see buttons or links or levers to pull to jump to Sandbox or to Somnium, or Crypto Voxels, you know, and just sort of interweave all those together. Because the thing here is it's all browser based. And even in the headset, eventually you'll be able to, you know, move between applications so seamlessly you'll kind of forget which metaverse you're actually in. So, you know, for what it's worth, for people that want to build in the metaverse, they may get dejected right now because, you know, land is expensive in a Decentraland. But, you know, virtual land is essentially limitless, unlimited supply. So there's always going to be a spot for you to build something. There's very few scarce spots around like the Genesis point, which is why we invested to have that jump off point, just make it easy for people to kind of move between the Woodies, you know, plots around these different metaverses. But the interaction will be similar, though the spaces may look very different, and we may do that on purpose. You know, our world consists of you know, 8 different regions like Wonder Mist, etc. And so maybe they manifest that way. Wonder Mist on Decentraland and Samakaya on Crypto Voxels or whatever it is. So a lot of opportunity to kind of have fun and just think outside the box and just create some cool stuff there.
So fun. Hey, I'm watching the time. I know you're East Coast like me, and we had a hard stop here at top of the hour. Hero, anything else top of mind for you?
Yeah, I'd like to ask you 14 more questions. So I'm gonna need you for more time bit. But that's okay. I mean, you don't sleep, or you sleep at your desk. You don't have any other life but helping people in this space. So I don't feel bad at all. But really, what's top of my mind, and I'd love to get your perspective on this. Coinbase NFT marketplace, in theory, is going to be launching their V1, sometime this quarter, right? Maybe beginning of next quarter. What do you think that is going to do for the NFT space on a macro level? And how do you think it's going to affect artists in our community who've had varying degrees of success or not yet over the past year in the space? Um, can you give us a little bit of what you think is going to happen after Coinbase launches?
Yeah. So Coinbase has roughly 60 million active users a month, and that is massive. It is super massive. If they all came and wanted to buy NFTs, they're already crypto native to some degree. So I think they're probably well aware of at least the term NFT and probably cognizant of what it represents today. Wrapped art, typically in different forms, art, music, video, and so on. I think you're going to see a massive rush, and that's good for everybody. So my recommendation would be, if they make it easy enough to onboard, yourself to that platform, you should go there. The age old strategy of like, go to where your customers are, right? Go there. Don't discount it. Don't say, oh, it's a centralized business, I don't want to participate. I mean, you can, that's fine. But you're also blocking off a new market that just dwarfs our market right now. From there, though, I think as people learn and they start to consume assets on Coinbase, they're probably going to start venturing out from there. And that's also really good for the space. So, they'll find Looks Rare, they'll find Super Rare, they'll find Foundation, they'll probably find, Hen on Tezos, who knows where, but they'll take the same journey that we have. Like I said about history repeating itself, like they'll continue on because they'll feel that thing that we all felt when we got in. I don't know if you all felt it. I felt it, a buzz and excitement. And so they'll want to learn more. Coinbase is going to be a behemoth, an absolute juggernaut. And I think they're going to usher in the next iteration of what NFTs really are. The NFTs are not art. Art is wrapped by an NFT. NFT is a technology. It's ownership in the form of a contract around something like a piece of art. Art seemed to be probably the easiest use case to go after in terms of the first thing we'd apply that tech to. It makes a lot of sense. But I think at scale, art probably represents the same percentage of sales that it does in the offline world as it pertains to media. And, it may become 1% of Coinbase's NFT sales. I think a massive chunk of their sales are going to eat a lot of different industries alive. I'm thinking equity markets, the idea that shares of a company are not wrapped as NFTs is not going to manifest for a long time. Like, they will wrap those as NFTs, real bona fide ownership in a asset that's easily tradable and composable. I think mortgages, deeds, titles. And so in that way, I think Coinbase specifically is set up to become a absolutely massively valuable company until they're no longer able to compete with decentralized companies. And what I mean by that is I think the thing I'm most excited about in this space is this like inversion of value in an organization. You think of centralized / Web 2 companies, investors are at the top and the doers are down at the bottom. And the customers aren't even in the sphere. They're outside of it, right? They don't care about the value they're giving you. They want to extract value from you. And then you look at decentralized models where participants in that thing are actually rewarded in the value that that thing creates, because there's really no like power hierarchy. There's governance, but not a traditional business hierarchy as we're used to. And so the mental mechanic I use in my mind is like Coinbase versus LooksRare. Coinbase is a centralized company. They're not going to reward you for using anything of theirs, partly because they can't. They're a common enterprise, and therefore they can't legally issue currency in the United States of America. They cannot do it. OpenSea cannot issue currency in the United States of America, so they will not be airdropping you a token. Trust me. But LooksRare is totally decentralized. They take all the fees that are flowing through that platform and they disperse it out based on the quantity of Looks token that you own, the governance coin. And in that way, that drives an incentive for me to want to use LooksRare over OpenSea and over Coinbase long term. And ultimately, LooksRare, just again using it as an example, has those same opportunities that Coinbase has in terms of expanding NFTs way beyond the art that we're used to today, and basically acting as this ownership platform for essentially every conceivable asset on the planet. So that's a long answer there, but I think Coinbase NFT is a really good thing for onboarding new people to our space. And by space, I mean Web3. And I think Web3 is such a big game changer. I'm really excited for Coinbase to do that, but I do think it'll ultimately bring their demise unless they're able to unwind their centralized public company back into a decentralized model in the future. They will not last forever. I'll stop there.
So glad I asked the question.
It's a good question.
So Bit, I would love to, especially if we budget your time, I would love to do this once a month, and just bring you into one of our rooms, ask you questions like this, if you're open to that.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, cool. I intentionally asked you in front of everyone to kind of make it
put the pressure
more
on.
difficult. Yeah, just put the pressure on. And listen, I know I speak on behalf of the whole Nomad team. If there's anything we can do to help you out in this new chapter, we're definitely here for it. Definitely happy to be guinea nomads for this new platform, and
cool.
Could not have done this quite the same without you. So thanks for being here, and have a great rest of your night.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks y'all. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it. It's great to be here. Be well. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Barry. See you, man.
I just learned more in that hour than I have in a long time, and so many different topics. That was incredible hearing from him.
Yeah, he he's obviously very, very, very bright and analytical, and he has a background that lends itself well to the work that he's doing now. But the people that really are contributing to the space, that are really affecting change and helping to build, the common thread is really, really hard work and collaborating with others in the space. And he's one of the hardest working collaborators in the space. So the expression, the harder your work, the more luck comes your way. Well, he also works smart too. And I could have just done that all night. Andy, any takeaway?
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm just pissed I didn't have my pen and paper with me. I definitely bought more Ethereum while we were on that call, though.
Dude, Ethereum and Bitcoin went up while we were on that call.
Coinbase stock might have too.
Dude, I'm serious. It actually went up. I got a little notification, and I'm like, oh my gosh, 59 people in this room, Bit, like we're moving the market. And when he said that in 9 months from now, it's just Ethereum is just gonna rip. I believed him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we all did. I think everybody's financial attitude shifted a little bit.
Well,
I
it's
was texting my friends, buy Ethereum.
and I think it's just we don't we get just the way that he talked about the tree analogy, and he just makes it the way he explains it just makes so much sense. Like, we're not going back from crypto, right? I mean, it's there are going to be these kind of peaks and valleys and ups and downs, but like if you look back since the beginning to now, it's just up and to the right. And there are only going to be exponentially more people transacting on this blockchain. So
He
that was great
shared
timing.
he shared a chart with me the other day, not with me specifically, but with on another social platform that I don't talk about much anymore. The And it had to do with the number of crypto adopters um, in comparison to the internet adopters of the 90s, which is just like, they're identical. And so my snarky remark was, looks like we have a .com event happening soon. And he was like, no, dude, we're about to rocket ship into mass adoption.
So there's the big difference between those two outcomes, right? One, I mean, one is Gary V, talking about how in 6 to 12 months, 90+% of everything is going to go to nothing, and he's going to be investing with his U.S. dollars, in the projects that really come out of it unscathed in the first 100 days. And you're like, okay, he basically just said everything is going to go to shit, but he's super excited because he's going to start cherry picking the projects that seem to still have some blood in them. So that was one thing that I consumed today. And then now, I'm hearing that, we're kind of in this early pool of people that are going to benefit from mass adoption in the space. It's just, it's wild. It's wild. Where do you lean on this one, Looks?
I mean, I think everything he said made sense. I mean, yeah, the one thing. So yeah, I think we're early. I tell people all the time we're early, and as you guys know, I've been onboarding friends who don't even have Twitter accounts right now. They don't even have Discord accounts, but they're buying NFTs. Like, and so I see the shift happening. I'm getting calls from my friends. Hey, I've got $100,000. I'd love to start shopping for NFTs with. I've got private equity friends who are calling me up asking me about the tech right now inside of Web3. Like, what are they seeing? What am I seeing? Just being immersed in this space from that perspective. What kind of tech am I seeing? What are VCs doing in the space with the money, and what are they getting into from a platform standpoint? So, the one thing I am a little, and I would have loved to have more time with him to talk about Coinbase. I guess the one thing I don't really connect the dots on is, how is Coinbase, why are the people at Coinbase now who use Coinbase not buying NFTs? If you already know how to set up Coinbase and get it funded, that next step to setting up a MetaMask and getting on OpenSea is not a very big barrier. So typically the biggest barrier I hear from people is, how do I get Ethereum or how do I get cryptocurrency? I think once you take that step, stepping over to NFTs is a pretty easy thing to do. So I'm kind of curious what the hesitation is and why these 60 million users just haven't taken the leap yet. And I would have loved to have heard his perspective on that. If maybe you guys have a thought on it.
I think we are, people are lazy, period. I know a lot of people that have Coinbase accounts, and in fact, they thought that's all they needed to buy an NFT. Yeah, I mean, there is Coinbase is your bank account. You got to take the money out of your bank account, put in your wallet, so you can go buy the water at the store, right? A lot of people didn't understand that there is a step beyond just getting the Ethereum, and without that hand holding, they're just not gonna take the leap. So I just think it's just access, just convenience. Like, we're a convenient culture. 2 clicks is too many.
I also think that people that have been trading cryptocurrency, you know, I don't know that there's kind of like this automatic desire to get into NFTs because you trade cryptocurrency. A lot of the people that are first time NFT buyers that come through, the Hero Machine funnel, they weren't like, you know, patiently waiting to buy their first NFT. They just didn't know how, they weren't interested or didn't really get it or didn't understand why someone would want to buy a JPEG. It's still very early for most people. And so I think, people that I've helped out are like, okay, cool, I'm supporting you, or I'm excited about this because you're doing it, or, it'll be really fun to learn for the first time through you so that, I have someone to kind of tell me how this works. And then I see this all the time, people that are getting in for those reasons, then drink a little NFT Kool-Aid and then it's game over. And then they're like, yo, can you just transfer me 0.1 ETH to this wallet? Like, it's my wallet. It's just a second account I created in MetaMask. Just send it to me because I owe some people some money. I didn't have enough gas. I'm like, whoa. And they're like, it's all good. Let me call you back. And like that happens, that happens really quick. I just brought up Joso from Nomad as well, if you have an opinion on that. And then we're going to keep tonight, relatively short. So after that, I'm going to bring up a couple of people that requested to come up here, and we'll say hello to a few people here.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of agree with Waterboy that I think people are lazy, and also like Coinbase is kind of like you're very, I guess, novice crypto buyer, right? Like other crypto buyers using like Coinbase Pro or Kraken or some, FTX, some of these other platforms to buy, I think. Like a lot of my friends, a lot of them have Coinbase accounts, but pretty much, only a handful of them have NFTs or, like you said, Dan, are interested in buying NFTs. So I think just Coinbase did this for crypto a long time ago too. They made it easy. Right when they kind of like gamified it like Robinhood did with stocks. When they did that, that's when you saw ETH really shoot up and went from like $9 to like $20, like $50. Once ETH was on Coinbase and you could easily buy it on there. And I think you're going to see the same thing with the NFTs.
And also, I think Coinbase is going to find a bunch of smart ways to market to their users, right? People will go onto Coinbase, they'll go to check their assets, or they'll go to, take an action on something, and there will be some sort of pop-up, or there will be some sort of funnel that they're taking down, and it will be really cool and fun and exciting and easy and secure. And, I think that is going to be a big part of this too.
Yeah. And I guess the other thing I would say about Coinbase, which I think most people would agree with, the UI is going to probably be really slick and clean to use, which, OS is not that user friendly. Obviously, I mean, it is now because I've been using it for months and half a year longer. But, when you first set up with Coinbase, and Coinbase Pro is not as simple, but, just getting on Coinbase and trading. So I imagine we'll see a very similar experience from a user experience with Coinbase too. So that would all make sense.
So also brought up Akomi and Robert. Robert, I think you raised your hand first when we first started talking to Bitcoinski. I don't know if that was because you wanted to chime into the conversation, so I apologize. But we'd love you to say hello and ask any question you have or tell us a little bit about what you do in the space.
I really appreciate it. First off, I guess I would say I'm just an old dude in a young man's game, but I'm 42, and I work in the tech sector, electron microscopes, but got into this NFT thing through a colleague. And like what you guys are talking about, it was baby steps. It was like, who are buying pictures? Why are people buying pictures? And then warming up to the idea of watching people make money on Bored Apes. And I've evolved now into buying art and buying humanoids and getting into the culture and the community. And it's just really an addictive, fun, and inclusive situation that, I'm trying to get my family and my friends into. But the big thing I wanted to come out of this was the speech that Bitcoinski came up with was phenomenal. I mean, gave me more confidence than ever in this whole space. I mean, he's talking at another level. It's just amazing. And what I also wanted to say is I love, somebody brought up burning the mint chains for nomads, the dog tags. I got to admit, I love having the dog tag. I'm going to hate to lose the dog tag, but I'm going to love getting my nomad. But I wish there was a way that I could hold on to my dog tag. But the big question I want to ask to everybody is, I still have trouble understanding things like OX apes that dropped. And I see somebody here has an OX apes PFP. You know, it would almost seem to me, as kind of an old guy, is like you just buy any copycat now and you can flip it and you can make some money. If I just buy an ape project, I can make currency. But I find it, I don't want to say disrespectful, but I just don't understand how there's still so much traction with literally taking an original piece of art and changing a color or two and then dropping it and being able to make so much money. I would like to see just people's opinion on how long that can continue and sustain in the space. Thanks.
Yeah, I do think as the market matures a bit, you're going to see less and less of that. But you know, when there's hype and people can make money, people are gonna do it. So, but I do think that as the market does mature and people get smarter and more kind of keen on that, you're going to see less and less of those projects do well.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And then in addition, so OXApes, I'm not too familiar with kind of their ethos of the project or the mission. I think you see some derivatives that do come out though. Take Expansion Punks for example. If you look into the mission of Expansion Punks and you look at the team behind it, you know they really wanted to create a project around the CryptoPunks that honored the CryptoPunks, but also the main mission was to provide more diversity amongst the collection. I think this collection is something like 60 female traits versus 40% male. And then actually, that's not even totally accurate because there's a percentage there that are binary. So they wanted to make a project that still honored the original project, but then was more inclusive with where they want the NFT space to go. So, you know, it was a great mission, and you know, there's a lot more to that story, and that's the short version of it. So, you know, I think some derivatives come out and they're an obvious cash grab, and then others are truly trying to honor another project.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I mean, one of the projects I didn't get into that I was whitelisted was Superlative Apes, and you know, it was a combination of this Bored Ape and like Superlative come together, and I'm a Superlative old owner. And then I had learned that they actually completely stole the art from Skylar Richard, who had Special Blend. So I was like, I can't buy into this. This is a fraudulent situation, and of course, it went on to do very well. And ultimately, they got in a deal with Skylar and just bought him out, or I don't want to say bought him out, but ultimately got him to just settle and get some of his piece of the pie. But I just felt like, man, this can really muddy up this space if people can just do this and just take other people's talent and flip it on their own, because there's just no path to protecting their intellectual property ultimately. But like you guys are saying, if it's done just, you know, respectfully, I get it. But I hope it does kind of slow down.
I think there's that's a symptom of OpenSea, you know, looks rare, you know, platforms that are just literally there's no quality check. I think, you know, you look at Coinbase or Nifty or you know, some of the other drop platforms. I mean, they have more governance around who's put on. So that's kind of one comment. I think that, you know, the the drop platforms themselves, there will be more trusted ones than others. There's also a lot, you know, there is kind of this beauty though in you know, the portability, right? I remember a couple of years ago there was a guy back in the ICO days that was just buying up contracts, trying to get like 50% of the you know, governance of it so that he could rewrite the contract and, you know, kind of take all the money out of the contract. And the community revolted and they just all walked away from that contract. They forked and they moved into a new one and just left him, you know, without community. I mean, there is some beauty in that portability. Obviously not, you know, at the expense of stealing IP, but I think these are some of the questions that Web3 will introduce, and we all just have to hope that good prevails, which clearly it doesn't always.
Robert, that feel like you got that answer for you?
No, I totally appreciate it, and I thank all of you guys, and I think everybody who's got the courage to quit what they do and fall in love with this and pursue it and drive it. I'm excited just to. Unfortunately, I don't have the guts when you have little kids. It's just in my special space in the world, but I'm rooting for everybody, and I would love to see where this goes in 5-10 years. And when my kids, who are now 9 and 5, it's only a matter of a couple 3 years before it's so common for them to speak about it. And my son sees me looking at my NFTs and the coins and hey dad, how's the Noids doing? And it's just it's changing so fast, and it's so exciting. And I just root for everybody, and I hope we all do make it.
Absolutely. It can be a lot of people burning their boats this year for Web3. So all at our own pace, though.
Robert, I really appreciate you coming up here and sharing all of that. It's a wild world. Just a comment about what you said about the Nomad min passes. So the gold JPEG dog tag, that's going to be our signature piece, in perpetuity. So, I know I'm also feeling like, maybe I want to keep one and not burn it. But we're going to find some other way to make you not miss that. If this was just, kind of a basic art project that you were burning it for, then, maybe I would say keep one and burn one, or I don't know how many you have. But the artwork is unreal. It's unbelievable. Every brushstroke, every digital brushstroke by Isabelle. You're going to be able to print this out, and it's going to look like a painting. And it's fun, and it's humorous, and we've got 150 special featured artist pieces that you may be lucky enough to mint, and there's some rare ones, and we've got I think it's worth it. I would go for it, and there's going to be plenty of gold JPEG dog tags in your future. By the way, just to remind everyone who's here, tomorrow we're going to start our Twitter Spaces early. So it's going to be 5:30 p.m. PST. So a little bit easier for the people on the East Coast, maybe a little bit easier for the people in the UK. And we're going to be on stage with our partner OneMind. It's going to be something you don't want to miss. It's an incredible story. We're going to shed some light on why we partnered with them and why we are donating a percentage of our contract to OneMind. It's going to be a really special evening, so I hope you can make it tomorrow. And every hour and every day gets closer to the big reveal, so there are going to be some giveaways. We're going to announce what all of that looks like, in the coming days. So also we have Akomi up here. He is the founder of NFT Cabo, which is taking place at the end of February. Also has a project. And Akomi, any thoughts from our conversation tonight with Bitcoinski or Looks Legit or anyone else who's spoken?
Yeah, you know what? I started laughing when you guys brought up those OX apes, because I went out with my community, and I think I picked up 10 or 12 of them, and there was so much FUD around those, and I thought they were going to get taken down. So I was hoping to get a little bit of a pump at least before that was going to happen, and I was going to get out. And those things went, that was the worst mint I've ever seen in my life. I'm surprised they actually ended up minting out afterwards. I don't like seeing those projects like that. And the reason is how you guys are talking about that. Okay, well, is it paying homage to the actual project, or is it kind of ripping it off? And you know what? It's just a straight cash grab. I don't think you can start what we're doing, what you're doing right now, what I'm doing is we're building our own communities. And are you going to build a community off stolen stuff? That's how I see it as an artist. And I just kind of wanted to give my feedback on that. I do like when people um, sample from projects and I can get in there, get on the pump, make some money and get out. But in terms of something that I want to be in long term, in terms of a community, I want something unique. I want something that someone put the time in and like made something really cool. And that's why I love what you guys are doing, because like it's all a branding play with the dog tags and like the gorilla and the whole history behind it. It's so cool. I think it's a story that's really important to it. And yeah, I don't know. I just want to praise you guys again for what you're doing because it's unique and I absolutely love it. And thanks for having me up on stage here. And I can't wait to see you guys down here at NFT Combo because it's starting to shape up and it's going to be a blast.
Really appreciate you coming up here and for being such a big supporter of the project. Jeremy, you're up on stage too. What's going on?
I just wanted to come in and say hi. Looked like a lovely time here. So wanted to jump on up. I'm pumped. I bought a V-Friend yesterday. Finally in that project. Looking forward to going to Minneapolis and seeing wonderful people. And looking forward to reveal of Nomad on Friday. I got my multiple tags that I'm gonna burn all of them. I was just listening to you, Danny. Potentially say holding on to one. It didn't even cross my mind to do that. I'm gonna burn all of mine. Yeah, I'm pumped.
I'm probably going to burn all of mine too. I feel like Robert, they're so cool. They're already nostalgic for me. I love but I'm going to do it. I won't be able to keep that and know that I might be able to get, one of the Nomads. So we'll just have to see how it all plays out. We'll just have to see how it all plays out. And we're going to be doing stuff on our end to incentivize people to burn because we want to see the art. We want the art to come to life. And look, before we wrap this at 9:30, I just want to say to any of the artists in the room that participated in our contest, I can't tell you how inspired the Nomad team is by all of the derivatives that you've done of the Nomad. And this is pre-reveal, right? It's just, this community is like overflowing with talent. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, go to the Nomad Boulevard Discord and go to the channel that's called Nomad Art Contest. It's just unbelievable. We're all really blown away and really excited, and that's one of the benefits of kind of cultivating and bringing together this art community. We have a lot of talent, and our derivatives are going to rival any of the derivatives that have been done so far in other projects. So thanks everyone for doing that. We're going to be announcing a winner soon. And I think that's it. We're going to keep tonight at 90 minutes. Thanks for being here and have a great night.